Howdy do, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever it is, wherever you are. What is going on, everyone? Is your host, Jayson, Yessir, here in the Spit It Out studios. Hope you guys are doing just well, holding it in this quarantine and the self-isolation going on. However, we got an exciting episode for you guys coming on up today. I will go ahead and let you know, unfortunately, Treese is unable to make it this episode once again, short notice. Hopefully we could get her in. We're gonna see. She had some technical difficulties back home. We're gonna kind of see if she could join in at some point in this episode. But without further ado, we do have a special guest. I don't want to have them holding too long or waiting too long at all at this point. I'm super duper excited for this one, and so glad that I was able to get a hold of them and get them on. But let's just go ahead and introduce them now. According to their Twitter bio, they've graced the television screen on many different networks, currently been on 4 reality shows and 13 game shows, gone by several different names you might know by. Some may know him as Mr. Tigger, others might know him as the Gavel Guru. Also, recently, Dr. Shonuff on an Instagram video I just seen. And formerly on recently, most I would say recently, probably on Netflix 100 Humans, human number 28. Let's give it up for him. We have Ty Snow in the building. Ty, welcome to the Spit It Out podcast.
Hey, how are we doing out there in television and YouTube and media world? How are you guys doing?
Thank you for coming on out. We're so happy that you were able to be a part of the show. Sorry for earlier, got a little confused with the Pacific and Eastern time and such.
Right. Absolutely. I still can't tell time, so you're in good company. Trust me. You're well okay.
I'm glad that you were able to make it, though. Like I said, I'm super excited for this episode. So no matter what much do we have going on anyways? We're all in this self-isolation, right? We have plenty of time throughout the day these days.
Right. Absolutely. Well, what's it to do? But do podcasts and be talking to them on social media. That's all we can do.
Exactly. Just keep on the post, and that's all you could do these days. You got so much time on your hands. So I have so much things to get into, and I want to break down just a lot. Now, I mentioned a couple names that we went with. First off, let me just say thank you for your time and consideration for coming on to the show. I really do appreciate that. And my co-host as well. She isn't here, but hopefully you do get to meet her shortly. So we'll be looking forward to that.
It's my pleasure.
But how are you doing, though, in this social isolation, this quarantine?
It's kind of interesting because I'm a social butterfly. I'm full of energy. I like people. I like being out and being about. So being here in the house has been like more serene, being still. But the blessing in it is the fact that with the 100 Humans show coming out and when it did, everyone's been watching the show. And since the song Tic-Tac-Toe went viral over the world, it gives me enough time to answer messages all day long.
So
I'm
you're still getting
DMs.
a chance to be social.
Yes, I get to be social all day. DMs, Instagram, Facebook, emails. People call me on my phone talking about the show and the song. So it's kind of worked out pretty well because I would need this time to answer everybody because my job took me off of work, which is great because I get to be off work and so.
Yeah, I definitely want to get into a couple of these things. That's good to hear, though. Good, doing well, not sick at all, and having good health as well. That's the main thing right there. So as long as that is, I think we're all doing good health-wise, what everyone's kind of worried about right now.
Right.
So that's good to hear. I do want to get into a couple of things that you just mentioned, though, and we will for this show. Now, where are you currently quarantined? Because I didn't Pacific time, so you are in California, correct?
Yes, I'm in Pasadena, California.
Pasadena, California. Here. Okay. Oh, okay.
Yes,
perfect. And now, is that where you grew up at, or?
I'm born and raised. I was born in Glendale, which is next to Pasadena, but I grew up in Altadena and Pasadena. This is where I've always lived. My family and friends grew up here. This is where I've always been. Worked for the city of Pasadena. Worked for the Pasadena Unified School District. Went to college in Pasadena City College. Everything's been Pasadena.
Yeah, and the school district. Speaking of, that's special ed teacher, correct? Special education.
Special ed teacher, yes. And I've loved it. I just actually resigned January this year after 13 years to go full-time with the city of Pasadena. I'm currently a team director. I run a team program for teenagers from the ages of 12 to 17 every day full-time. So, 'cause
Oh,
my
cool.
passion is always
Perfect.
working with teenagers. So I couldn't do both simultaneously. So I took the teenage position, but I still have a connection to my students who I'm working with at the different schools I've been at.
Oh, that sounds good though. That's perfect that you're able to go ahead and do that. Now, special education, is this also, or is this separate, the choir director? I know you did that as well. Is that something different?
I'm a gospel choir director. I'm a gospel artist. I have my own group called Extreme Purpose, and it's a choir that I have personally that I started 10 years ago.
Okay.
And we've sang background for Barry Manilow, Beyonce,
Okay, yeah,
Sugar.
we're gonna get into that. Just hold on, just a second. We're gonna get into that. Okay.
Okay, gotcha.
I wanted to clear that and make sure. I wasn't sure if your teaching if it was two separate teachings, being a direct
Oh
choir
no, that's
director and then
yeah.
special educate. Okay, perfect. And also last but not least though, here in the you being quarantined and all, have you been cooking though? That's one thing I want to know. You been cooking or dining out? What's that been?
I've been cooking. Well, I eat out a lot. I've always ate out a lot, but I'm a really good chef, so I cook at home as much as I possibly can. Just when I want
Okay.
something different, I'll eat out. But at home, normally I'll cook chicken, fish, steak, stuff like that. I can
Now
cook here at
that's
the house.
interesting. That's interesting that you said that you're a really good chef. Now I did notice that you were on Food Network's Worst Cooks in America. You were on you were we're gonna get into that as well, but you were in 2 episodes of that, I did notice. So
Yeah.
we're gonna see about your cooking skills. We'll talk about that in just a second. But you've been cooking okay at home during this quarantine, so you might have that was a couple years ago. You might have picked up a couple of skills since then. Um
Uh-huh.
what though? I want to know what exactly motivates you, or what from you said you just finished, so you're done with the special education. Is that correct? You just resided from that?
Yes, I resigned from being a teacher because I was doing 2 dual positions, one for the school district and one for the city. So I just got a
Oh, okay.
promotion with the city, so I can't work 2 40-hour positions. And the city job was what I've always worked with teenagers all my life. So to get the position that they offered me was really what I wanted. So I resigned from the special ed teacher position
Okay.
to work full time with at-risk youth in the teen position.
Okay, sorry, I confused myself for a second. Okay, now that makes sense. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna ask what made you stop, but it didn't sound like you completely stopped. But what
Mm-hmm.
also made you get in though now to the entertainment side of things and all these shows and auditioning, casting, and that? What made you get into this stuff? Were you always looking for spotlight?
I've always been entertainment. I come from a very musical family. My mother, father, they all play musical instruments. My relatives did. They all were singers. But I was the main personality in the bunch. So I was musical. I got the gifts from my mother and my father, but I was a bigger than life personality even as a kid. So going into entertainment has always been my dream, and I've slowly done it, progressed through the years. But I've always worked full time for the government in some capacity. So it just picked up the last 10 years, 12 years. I've really dived into it more than I normally would have, and have had a lot of
Okay.
success. So that's kind of how I got into entertainment, and now I love it. So I would love to do it full time. So I'm hoping that some doors open from this Netflix show. You know what I mean?
Hey, you never know what's coming. It sounds like you got quite the resume already, though. I seen. I now, like I said, from the Twitter bio, I noticed quite the number of game shows and reality shows. 4 reality shows, 13 game shows. I was able to pick
Right.
up a couple here and notice. First, I seen you were on ABC's Crash Course in 2009. What was
Mm-hmm.
that exactly about? I don't remember that show.
That was that was a spinoff of the show Wipeout.
Oh, okay,
Wipeout
I
was a
remember
big
Wipeout.
show. So they had a spinoff called Crash Course. And what it was teams of 2 were competing doing car stunts that actual stunt artists would do in movies. So there were car
Oh,
stunts, and we were competing for $50,000. And so
okay.
they flew us all out to Detroit, and me and my good friend Sarah Barker, who had never been on TV before, they picked us as roommates because all the different couples were had a different relationship. And I was just off the chain, over the top. And it was a lot of fun. We flipped cars over, ran cars in the cars, had
Yeah.
explosions. It was crazy.
Were
It
you
was
scared at
really
all?
scary. It was really
You.
scary because now you get a feel for what stuntmen do. And they had you in these tight harnesses, and you're locked down, and you had to sign so many waivers, and it was fire and ambulance on the ground in case something happened. And it was
Okay.
crazy, but a lot of fun. A lot of fun. A
Now,
lot
was
of
this
fun.
a competition show that lasted episodes, or were you just on one episode?
It was a competition show that lasted 1 episode.
Oh,
They
okay.
made us the season premiere because they said me and my friend Sarah were so funny off the chain. Because when the camera cuts on, I'm nonstop. I'm an Energizer Bunny. So they had so much footage, and then we went to the last round before we got eliminated. But it was just a crazy experience. And I remember the last stunt we did was car dominoes. And the cars were standing up like this, and we had to knock them down, and they would fall on
Okay.
top, and they would explode. And
Oh,
but we would do it on grass. So I didn't know about driving on grass. You slide. But they didn't tell us that. So all
yeah.
the different stunts had little tricks to them. So I'm doing donuts in the grass. I'm tearing up all the props. I was beating up all the cars. And when we finished, we finally got the car, the whole set was quiet. And all you heard was, yes, yes. Everybody was screaming. They were like, it's the best thing we ever seen. Oh my God. I ran over everything. I literally, and so it
Oh
was just a
man, damn! I wish I could have
crazy.
seen. I couldn't catch that episode. I tried to look back for it. Like I said, it's 2009, so I couldn't catch it. But I tried
It's
to look
on,
back for it.
if you go on YouTube, it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Okay, I'm gonna have to look it up
It's
because I
on
was trying to
YouTube
figure out
under
what was the
Crash
show
Course.
about. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a car stunt show. It only went one season because I don't think they had a lot of money to put behind the production of it because it wasn't as the quality wasn't as good as Wipeout.
Okay.
So I was thinking they put as much money. It was a pilot show, so they wanted to see
Yeah,
how
they had the
successful
host
it
was
was.
Orlando. What Orlando Jones was it?
Orlando Jones, and
Oh,
forget the other
Jones.
young. Yeah,
Okay.
but it was a lot of fun. They were laughing. We kept them laughing the whole time.
Yeah.
It was a great
And then
experience.
was that now your first show being on? Was that the first one you
No,
ever?
I had been on years and years and years ago. I won't date myself, but the first TV show I ever was on I was on Scrabble with
Oh,
Chuck
I didn't
Woolery.
even know there was a Scrabble show. I'm not sure. I'm
There
not
was
familiar with that.
they had a game show called Scrabble, and I was on for Teen Week, and that was the first game show I ever did, and it was a lot of fun. I remember that show distinctly because my mom took me, and I didn't have my glasses, so I was squinting at the letters and calling out letters that weren't there. It was hilarious. Had a good time though, a great experience, and ever since then I've been doing them ever since.
That's also. I've never been a contestant. The only close thing I've did is be in the audience on Deal or No Deal.
Oh
I
yeah,
did
see
that for
that's
about two,
yeah.
three episodes. Yeah,
It was a
in
lot
the
of fun,
audience.
huh?
Yeah, no, it was fun just being part of the audience and seeing what happens behind the scenes and everything.
And see, I was trying to be a contestant on that, but when that was going on, I had juggled so many game shows already. It was just like you only could do so many every year or so many every time period. So, but yeah, I never could get on that, and I was trying very much so to get on the Deal or No Deal.
Yeah, I had fun. Like I said, just being in the audience. If I could be a contestant, that would be even, I'm sure, more fun because everyone seemed like
Absolutely,
they were having a good
absolutely,
time. Yeah.
absolutely.
Now I did get from there though. You were on. This is now going to 2015. Oxygen's "Fix My Choir" that you were just speaking of. Your choir. That's your choir group, Extreme Purpose, correct?
Correct. That was one of I would say, all the TV shows I've done, that stands out as one of the hardest shows I've ever done because it was a reality show. Dietrich Haddon and Michelle Williams, Destiny's Child, were the hosts, and they were going around fixing choirs. That was the whole premise.
Self-explanatory in the name.
Fix my choir. and I was referred to as a grand diva. And me and my friend, I tell you, we were grand divas and we're over the chain. But the show took my choir to a real dark place because for reality shows, you put on a little extra because it's a reality show.
Yeah,
but
of course. That's what they want to see. That's what my questions were as well. I was going to say, I don't mean to cut you off, but I was going to ask, because it did seem that way, and I knew, and it was Oxygen as well. Now, this was way back, if you guys don't know, Fix My Choir was way back on Oxygen. Now is just a network where it's like murder crimes and stuff like that. But back then, this is when they had one of my favorite, Bad Girls Club was on it at the time.
Yeah.
And all these different shows. And I remember when Fix My Choir came around because Diedrich was actually on Preachers of LA.
Yes.
Previously, and I did watch that show. Previously, he was on there. So I knew they were coming off the spinoff, Fix My Choir, and he was doing this with, like you said, Michelle from how was it working with her? Michelle from Destiny's Child.
Michelle's an absolute sweetheart. Absolute sweetheart. Absolute sweetheart. If I still see her, she still says hi. She hugs me. We've done a
Oh,
couple
that's
things
lovely. Yeah.
together since then. She's an absolute dog. Absolute dog. The contrast was she wasn't spiritually equipped to handle the battle my choir took her into, though. Because
Okay.
Michelle was coming from a more secular background. Dietrich's a pastor. So my choir ended up, everything you saw on there was not put on. A lot of stuff came out on its own organically on the show that I didn't know about. So there was a lot of dark stuff that was happening with choir members having issues with
Yeah.
family, relationships. And
I
that
was gonna say
made,
because I knew some production was probably involved with some things because they want to get obviously
uh-huh,
ratings and people to watch. But I was gonna ask how real actually was because they did have one of the guys on that I think part of the choir where he came in drunk. He was drinking and then came in to the session drunk. And then like the
right,
little like you said that is your friend I guess Octavia you just said that is your
uh-huh,
actual friend.
yes,
But you guys did
yes.
have conflicts in between each other throughout the episode as well. So I didn't know if that was overly produced, if they were making you do that, or was it all
No,
just real?
it was really real. The scene when me and her got into it, um, well, we got into an opening scene about them calling me a grand diva and her not wanting to be in the choir. She's doing it for me. All that's true. She only sang in the choir because she loved me because we're really close. But one of the things they had said for us was to go discuss it, but leave it unresolved. So we were
Okay.
supposed to have a conversation, but don't fix it. And so in the process of us having a conversation, you're trying to stay on topic, but then when your emotions get involved, it goes into someplace else. So we started bringing up stuff that we had wanted to say to each other for years, and it kind of erupted into that real harsh scene, which was really hard because I wanted to quit the show that day. Right after that
Oh.
scene, I called my mom and told her to come get me. I
Well,
told her I
after
wasn't
the
doing this
scene,
anymore.
you're speaking for people that don't know. It was the scene of you, Octavia, and Michelle Williams. Is that the scene you're
Yes,
speaking of? Okay,
yes,
because
that
that's when
scene
she
when we
called
got
you out.
into it,
Okay, yep. Octavia had called you out for something, and then you had
and
came
I
back.
responded, and I stood up, and she was sitting down. It was so intense after that scene. They had to take us down separate paths back into staging
Yeah.
because I was in tears. She was livid, and the choir itself were watching through the window, but they didn't really know all that had transpired. So that was not a show. It was real, genuine. It had gotten so tense that one of the production managers called me at home and said, "What do we do to fix your choir? We don't know what to do." That's
Oh.
how intense it got.
Well, just to say when it first started, one of my favorite comments that you made to begin with is
Uh-huh.
shut up all you stupid faces.
Oh, and I don't know where that came from. To this
Oh,
day,
I don't care where it came from, wherever you got it from. That got me. I had to rewind it and play it back. Shut up with all your stupid faces in the first 3
yeah,
minutes
and
of
they
the
always say,
episode.
"I can't live that down. I can't live that down." When that show came out, I got emails and messages about that, like, "Oh my God, you're such a monster." And I used to be a director monster. I used to be really, really stern and
Okay.
strict. I used to throw stuff at them and kick people out the choir and fire people all the time because that's just how I was raised to be a director. But I've softened a lot more now. But yeah,
This
a
is back
rough.
2015 also. That was years ago, just this
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
show.
yeah, yeah.
Now, and I'm sure it was filmed even before. It was probably filmed in 2014 or something, right? Even
Yeah, it was
before
filmed
it
in
aired.
2014 and aired 2015. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So there, you guys got it. Reality TV can be real. Like you said, they might be a little overproduced or so, but the conflicts were real. That was his real friend on the show. They did have some little drama between each other and that, so they worked it out as well. I thought it was a good episode. I hadn't actually seen any of the Fix My Choir episodes. I knew of the show, but I hadn't. But
Uh-huh.
it caught me. It was entertaining. So
Yeah, they
props up.
made us the season. They made us the season finale because they were banking on us being able to pull the show through for a second season. So
Oh.
yeah, so we were the big episode of the season because there was so much going on. It was
It
just
didn't
like
come back though,
unbelievable.
right?
No, it didn't come back because I really feel like they did it wrong as far as they showed one choir per episode versus breaking up each choir on each episode and showing a little bit. Because you only watched the
Oh,
only
they
choir
could
that
have
you
did
wanted.
that.
you tuned in just to your choir and that was it. But if you showed a little bit of each choir, each episode, people would have tuned in every episode to see the
Especially
choir
with so
they
many
wanted to see.
personalities. You have a
Yes.
choir. A choir isn't just a couple. A choir is a group of people and all these personalities. So it would be nice to split it over a series wide that you can find out who these people are.
Yes.
Yeah,
All in
that
one
does make
episode,
more
so.
sense.
So that wasn't like,
Yeah, that's
it wasn't
true.
the best idea, I think. So, but it was great.
All right,
It was
we're
really
gonna
great.
That's great though to hear. We're gonna go to a quick commercial break though. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, nobody. We
Absolutely.
have some more things to go. A lot more shows to talk about. Like I said, we have human number 28 from Netflix, 100 Humans, Ty Snow in the building, and he's got a lot of things to share with us. Don't go nowhere.